I look back at my personal experience and all of what I learned, and I say to women, like, actually, don't use all your personal funding. Look at options out there. Come and see us. Seek advice sooner. When they finally took the leap, you get access to all the fundings. That's when they felt like the CEO. They felt like, this is validation that what I'm doing.
Today, we're breaking down the barriers to capital for women entrepreneurs. In 2026, many founders are still relying on personal savings and credit cards to scale, essentially leaving growth and security on the table.
If you are running a business and you are still using your personal accounts and your personal Visa, I would say stop right there. Go to the bank, open up a small business account to start building the habit.
Hi everyone, this is Maheen and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today we're breaking down the barriers to capital for women entrepreneurs. In 2026, many founders are still relying on personal savings and credit cards to scale, essentially leaving growth and security on the table. Joining us today is Julie Dimitri, the National Manager of Women in Enterprise at TD. With over 20 years of experience in sales and operations, Julie leads a dedicated team of accredited bankers who are focused on changing the financing narrative for women-led businesses. There's lots that we will be covering in this interview today, so without further ado, let's dive in. Julie, we're very pleased to have you on the show today. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm feeling great.
Very pleased to have you and very excited to cover lots, but let's open our discussion by understanding the financing gap. Julie, the research shows that women often self-select out financing opportunities before they even apply. Please tell us, why do many women entrepreneurs hesitate to seek external funding?
Yes, well, you're exactly right. So based on research, based on many conversations my team and I have had with many women entrepreneurs across the country, I would say there are two buckets where we can put this in. So the first one is this financing aspect. And women, for some reason, in many cases, they self-select out of financing. They feel that they themselves will not qualify. They feel that they don't have enough employees to qualify. And we know women tend to be a lot in the space of small business and solo entrepreneurs. And we want to address that because that's not the case. The second bucket I find is confidence, right? So I know it's hard to pinpoint specifically. There are many reasons, but for some reason, women, when it comes to money, when it comes to financing, we don't consider this an option. Personally, if I look back in my entrepreneurship journeys, so the first entrepreneurship journey I did with two male partners. And one of them was really responsible for financing and the operational side. And it was never a question. He was always on the lookout for the maximum funding he could get. Accelerate few years later, when I started my own business, I started it from a place of passion. I was very emotionally connected to what I was doing. And financing didn't even cross my mind, right? So now I look back at my personal experience and all of what I learned, and I say to women, like, actually, don't use all your personal funding. Look at options out there. Come and see us. Seek advice sooner. And if I may share another example, I think that sits well with the audience. So a recent client of ours, business owner, she had 20 years of corporate experience. So, a knowledgeable woman. She has a business of coaching, and she self-selected out. She thought she needed a lot more money in her business account. She thought she needed many employees before she thought she wasn't going to qualify. And it's after hearing us talk 3 times at different events that she, took it upon herself to come and speak to one of our accredited banker. And the banker said, let's go see what we can find. And now she has a rolling line of credit. So access to funds when she needs them. And just that has relieved a lot of pressure from her shoulders because it's usually the in between time, right? Between when you have to pay your vendors and when you get paid, that time. And you know what she told us? She said, finally, I feel like the CEO of my business. So that confidence piece really came from getting that funding.
Right. That is a beautiful example, really, Julie. And it is a confidence
Yes.
and education gap that we have to close together to really unlock the true growth. Now, let's explore why entrepreneurs should view their banker as a strategic partner, not just a gatekeeper. Julie, how can founders turn the banker relationship into a strategic partnership?
That's a very good question. As business owners, we automatically think of our accountant, we think of our lawyer. And we really want to encourage clients out there to think of the banker as a key component of their triangle, like the close triangle of people. Now, first, a banker works with entrepreneurs all the time. So they get to see a lot of things, they get to hear a lot of things. Of course, their advice will focus more on banking advice, but let's take advantage of that level of knowledge. So, one thing I would say is, if you're in the small business banking space, you don't necessarily have a banker that is always dedicated to you, but you can build towards that, right? They can share their connections with you. You can ask them a few questions once in a while to build that relationship, and share with them some of your milestone as well, right? So that they see that this is a relationship on both sides.
Right.
On the commercial side, so if your business is already established, you already have a team of specialists behind you, and the commercial team will always meet with you at least once a year. But what we tend to do is encourage you as well to ask them to meet with you more regularly. One of our clients in Quebec, she said, I used to ask my relationship manager to go out for lunch. And in an informal setting of lunch, you can ask more questions. And she said this is one of the ways she learned a lot of how to plan for her growing business because she would hear directly from the banker things to start thinking about that can help her grow her business.
Treating your banker as a core team member is probably the smartest move for long-term scalability. Now let's discuss the reality of how most women entrepreneurs fund their ventures today. Julie, why is relying on personal savings risky for long-term business growth?
So that's a big question. And you're right. Women tend to the term that we use a lot is bootstrap. So they tend to use their personal funds to start their business. And so much so that in our research, 84% of women use their personal funds. So if you're out there and that's what you're doing, you're not alone. But we want to share why this could be risky and why this can be limiting. So, the first thing is another piece of research shows that on average, women make $50,000 less than men for starting similar businesses.
Okay.
And that's a big number, right? So, when you're only relying on your personal and you don't have, access to funds that you could use, you tend to be more limited in how you build and grow your business. Let's take, for example, if a project comes your way, but it's a bigger project than what you would normally do. If you don't have money in your bank account to use or access to funds, then maybe you're limited to hire somebody that would help you, fulfill that project. Let's say your business is a little bit bigger and the perfect location opens up on a mall that you want, perfect market for what you have. Well, you need to access quickly that new location. If you don't have any money, then you're limiting yourself.
Right.
So when you use a lot of your personal account and your personal money, when you go to the bank to get money, then you're setting yourself up for failure,
Right.
right? It's like when you go for a mortgage, you want to know what is the maximum mortgage you can take. And what does the banker do? He looks at your income, everything that you have as collateral to tell you how much mortgage you can get. So it's the same. So what we're saying, like this is kind of a big aha moment for the audience. I think it was certainly for me. As women, we tend to be quite good when it comes to the household financing, right? We save really well and we only reward ourselves, or actually, we only reward our families when we reach that goal. On the business side, it's the exact opposite, right? You need to access money. You need to spend money for the growth of your business.
Right.
And that shift is quite significant. And what makes it even more difficult is that nobody really teaches us about this significant shift.
I mean, that makes total sense, and it tells us that relying only on personal assets puts a very hard ceiling on your growth potential.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
And it plays to that answer. I think also as women, and this is exactly what I did when I had my business, I'm going to put everything on my business, right? And I'm not putting myself an income in my business plan, because I'm like, oh no, I'm going to put everything on my business. I don't need it. But when you go to the bank, the banker wants you to succeed.
Right.
The banker wants your business to be viable. If you put a very small income, then you're not setting yourself up for success either. So that's where another area where thinking about financing, about not just relying on your personal might be helpful. And I can say there's been a little bit of glamorification of bootstrapping. Most businesses are started through bootstrapping. What we tend to see is women tend to bootstrap for too long. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not in control anymore. It certainly not doesn't mean that you're not good at it because you're borrowing money.
Right.
It's you're actually helping and enabling yourself for growth.
Well, that is a very insightful response, Julie, and it tells us that relying only on personal assets puts a hard ceiling on our growth potential. To the founders watching, in 2026, stop bootstrapping into burnout. Use your personal savings to float your business. Operations might feel safe, but it is actually the fastest way to cap your potential and put your personal future at risk. External financing is a tool for leverage, not a sign of weakness. You owe it to your business and your family to explore how professional capital can actually separate your personal assets from your business risk. So stop ruling yourself out. We'll take a short break here. Please stay with us. We'll be right back with more insights on building confidence and leadership as a founder.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. Still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep, healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah, well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep, that's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue the conversation and explore how embracing the CEO mindset can unlock new opportunities for growth. Now, let's look at how shifting into a CEO mindset helps women break through funding barriers. Julie, how does securing funding change a founder's confidence and leadership?
I mean, everybody's different, and everybody's boost of confidence will come from different sources. But what we are seeing and hearing from women out there who took the leap, or when we interview established founders, this is the first thing they say. You go, you get access to all the fundings that you can, even if you don't need it. So you have it in your back pocket and you get that validation that you're betting on yourself, but you're also betting on your business. And just like the previous example I shared, like we hear this all day, right? When they finally took the leap, that's when they felt like the CEO. They felt like, this is validation that what I'm doing is good. And we have to believe it, right?
Absolutely. Securing that validation is often that missing piece that is truly owning the CEO title and that vision. So thank you for highlighting that, Julie. Now, finally, let's discuss how entrepreneurs can confidently start the conversation with their bank. Julie, how should a woman founder start the financing conversation with a banker?
So the first thing I would say, if you are running a business and you are still using your personal accounts and your personal visa, I would say stop right there.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the bank, open up a small business account, and get access to a business credit card to start building the habit. The second recommendation I would say is meet with a banker and ask them, if I'm here now, how much funds would I have access to? And the answer might be zero, because maybe they're still just at the very, very beginning phases. But at least the banker is going to let them know what they need, to plan for, so that you can start thinking about, okay, once I'm ready and I've done this and this and that, then I'll be able to access maybe 25,000, maybe 50,000, maybe, et cetera, depending on the type of business that they started. What we do with our bankers, we have accredited women in enterprise banker, and we coach and educate them regularly to make sure that they approach women entrepreneurs the way women like to be approached, right? Our preferences in communication. And we also tell the banker, make sure that if a woman doesn't qualify, or actually any client, if a client doesn't qualify, tell them what do they need to do to get to a yes, so that they can plan for it. And a banker is not just there for borrowing money, right? There are so many other solutions. That happens all the time when I sit with women entrepreneurs, and they're building up their webpage. They're going to have an e-commerce site. And I tell them, well, did you speak with a banker? Because we have templates of website you can use that has the e-commerce component connected to it. They're like, oh, you guys do that? Yes. The banker would propose you different options that can make you run your business more efficiently.
Right.
There's cash management solution when you need to pay either your employees or your vendors regularly, things like that, right? And the last thing I would say is the banker will also help you see other options. So one option that we know our clients appreciate a lot is a company called Fundica.
Mm-hmm.
So you can access Fundica on our webpage. It's an AI-based organization that we pay for their services. And it allows any entrepreneurs out there to find all of the grants, all of the government programs that exist out for them based on the type of business they started and where they are based in the country.
Right.
And because it's AI, they do it very quickly. And so you can access that on our page. And that can also be the first way to start with some funding. At the municipal level, there's lots of options sometimes that can just help you get some marketing money or start it. Exactly.
Well, starting the dialogue early is the key to ensuring that you're fully prepared when the growth opportunity hits. This was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Julie, for coming down to see us in our studio and share such great expertise and insights in such a short given time. As we wrap up, what advice would you give a woman entrepreneur or a founder that is afraid to seek funding?
So I would say you're not alone. In our research, 37% of our respondents said that they are not comfortable with their repayment.
Right.
So I'm so glad that you're asking that last question. So the first thing I would say, you're not alone. The bank, they tend to be, risk averse. So the bank is not going to lend you money if they feel you're not going to be in a position to repay it. So you should already feel confidence in that aspect. The second piece I would say is the banker, again, our accredited bankers will spend time to go through options with you around the repayment. So often we feel like I'm borrowing money, it's going to be this big loan like a mortgage. Well, it doesn't need to be like this. It
Right.
could be, let's say, for example, you get 100,000 access or 75,000. It's going to be broken up, if you want, in a big chunk on your credit card so you can manage it, another chunk as a rolling line of credit, so you can play with it when you need it, and a last chunk, again, only if you need it as a loan. So if ever you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really at cutthroat, I can't pay, you can use your rolling line of credit to pay the interest on your loan.
Wow.
So a lot of people don't know that your interest is actually tax deductible. So yeah,
That is a great reminder, really, that your business, it has legs and a great banker will help you see them. Thank you so much, Julie, once again for joining us and for sharing such great expertise and your insights with us. Thank you.
my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And that was Julie Dimitri from TD, a masterclass in why aligning with the right financial partners is the ultimate strategy for turning your vision into a sustainable reality. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Please be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more resources. A special shout out to our partners, UPS and ADP, for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses across Canada.